Hi, I'm Dr. Mike, and this is NFGeeks. This video is a special video for the Facebook NFGeeks forum because Thursday is Theme Thursday, where I would like members voluntarily to make videos based on a certain theme that would be, for every Thursday. And this Thursday's theme, starting us off, the theme I chose is family. And the reason why I chose that is that I'm visiting my sister family, and I thought that would be an interesting thing to talk about. In fact, I've been traveling all day, and that's why this video is coming in rather late onto NFGeeks, because I thought I would do it before I left, or I thought I'd get here sooner, and none of that happened. So, that's part of family, traveling and things like that. So, one of the reasons why I did this, or was inspired this, was a couple of days ago. I was chuckling to myself because when Dave and I started NFGeeks as a goof, really just as a goof, was to part of it was just to bitch about our SJ families, okay? Just to complain about, how sensitive we are and all that, and the SJ oppression that we had to suffer from. And when I used to tell these stories, and even other videos with Noah or whatever, I was really referring to my childhood. Okay, I was referring to my youth and growing up with SJ parents and adults that were above me. But I was really referring to the past. And what made me chuckle is that I realized, well, that's not true. This isn't just existing in the past. I've been in an SJ family for 40 years straight through, including now, because my family that exists now are also all SJs. Now, the adults who raised me and my sister, they've passed on, but the family dynamic hasn't changed at all. Okay, because they're still SJs, and it's pretty much the same combination I grew up with, which is also more comical. So I've been living under an SJ family system literally my entire life. Okay, right up to this moment. So, which is kind of funny because I didn't really think about that till a few days ago. So let me tell you about the dynamics and what the family is and how this is exactly like the way I grew up. And that is that. So first of all, everybody here is an SJ. I'm the only non-SJ person. Okay, including Noah. Noah came. So, so we have Noah, an ISTJ. Okay, my sister is an ISFJ. My niece is an ESFJ, and my brother-in-law, like Noah, is an ISTJ. So we got four SJs, and then me. I'm in the mix. Okay, so I thought about talking about the family sort of assessment theory. I talked about this in a couple of other videos about this, and I actually did. I think I did my childhood family, but I want to talk about the current family as it exists now, because it's only slightly different than my childhood. So I'll go through it. So again, the four things to think about is the leader of the family, the collective consciousness of the family, if there's a majority of type within the family, and the isolated person who's on the outside of the family, furthest removed from the actual family. So first of all, the leader of the family is my sister, my older sister, who's an ISFJ. Okay. And and I'll talk about the dynamic without me and Noah too in a little while. But so she's an ISFJ, and she's the sort of the leader of this whole thing. And the collective consciousness of this family, as it is now, is ISFJ as well. And this is always a fascinating thing, because whoever has a type that is also the same type as the consciousness of the whole group is the person who feels the most comfortable in the whole group. that this is how the group is to be run, and when it runs that way, that's the way it should run. And what's wrong? Everything feels great. I feel great in this group. It's all working out. What's the big deal? Okay, and that is my sister's actual opinion about this. Now it's even better because my sister being the leader, it's even a better situation. Here's the choices I'm making. Here's the direction we're going in. I'm really liking this direction. This is right. The whole group is moving in this direction. Everybody's thrilled from her point of view because this is the right way to go. For this. And so again, one of the talk about the difficulty that is that when the person who is the same type as the consciousness, because everything seems right, also can't recognize the things that are wrong because they're not experiencing that. They're experiencing the way it's all supposed to go, okay, which is normal too. And what's even better though, as the leader, she doesn't experience anything that's wrong. It's all going, all in the right direction, the direction it's supposed to go in. Okay, so that's kind of comical. So next though, and this is interesting, is that there's a majority this time, which normally there isn't, and the majority type is ISTJ. That's because Noah and my brother-in-law are of the same type. Now, I haven't talked about this enough, I don't think, when I do the family assessment stuff, but when you have a majority, okay, of a certain type, that has sort of a push-pull kind of thing going on with the leadership, depending on what the majority type is, okay? So the majority type can be in support of the leadership, or the majority type, if the type is too distant, be against the leadership, and there could be major conflict, and the family can be always in, some sort of turmoil. Now, in this case, it's ISTJ, and there's not a whole lot of conflict for that reason. First of all, the leadership and the collective consciousness of the family and the majority all share the same SJ values, okay, about duty and work and, logistics and all the stuff that SJs, gratitude, all the stuff that SJs care about. So, in a general sense, the majority and the leadership and the consciousness all share the basic values. The difference, though, and this might cause a little trouble, with my sister and the group, is that they're ISTJs. So they're not going to be judging what's going on in the leadership of the family based on the emotional impact, okay? They're going to be basing it on the logic of it. And there might be some questionings about that in terms of logic or some, debate or criticism, but not criticism in a negative sense, critiquing. There might be more of that going on from a much more non-emotional state. And what's interesting is that when you have a majority, that energy kind of raises up with all the members or even the consciousness of the group. So there's going to be probably in the family this time around a little more logical, objective analysis that may or may not be going on if Noah wasn't here. Okay, and again, it sort of infiltrates the whole consciousness, the collective consciousness of the family, because you can feel the energy of the majority type come up and sort of be involved, even if it's not directly coming from Noah or my brother-in-law or anything like that. It's sort of in the mix. And again, that's because the collective consciousness of the group based on type is one that everyone's following regardless of what their actual type is, because it's the norms of the group. So the norms of the group aren't necessarily the norms of the type, but the whole group's going to follow these norms. That's why my sister in ISFJ is the most comfortable, because the norms of the group are her personal norms and the leadership norms. And so, she can move the whole thing forward because her consciousness, the group is an extension of her whole consciousness, and that's why she can sort of lead it through. Okay, but probably because Noah's here, there's going to be a little more analytical stuff going on. But they're both SJs, and so they all have the same values. They're all going to be happy. Now, the isolated person is the person who is least like the consciousness of the group, and that's me as an ENFP. So I'm the isolated position. The isolated position is the person furthest from the consciousness, the one that fits in the least, the one that's more likely to go join other groups or just leave or things like that, is that person. And that is certainly me. I am, an alien in this environment. And what's comical about that for me personally is that that's been my role for 40 years in this family. When I do the family assessments for the past 40 years, okay, with different combinations of people or whatever, I've never not had that role. Okay, I had it like at 3 years old, and I had it at like 12, and I had it at 22, and I had it 10 years ago, and I have it now, even in the current family. Like literally now, I'm in my sister's apartment, and I literally have that role right now the odd man out, okay, in the whole system. So for example, I'm making videos, I'm doing my ENFP stuff that no one else is making videos in the house that I'm aware of, maybe secret ones, but I don't think that's going down. So that's kind of an interesting thing that I've actually occupied the same isolating role through it. Uh, in my childhood, it wasn't funny. I didn't find it comical because I was a child and very sensitive and totally not understood, and I didn't know why they didn't understand. So it was a misery, totally. Where it's not that misery today because I'm older, I understand, I know what's going on here. Obviously from this analysis, but still, I occupy that same role. And what's interesting about it, and we'll see how this unfolds, is that when me and Noah are not here, and it's just my sister and my niece and my brother-in-law, there's no odd man out. There's no isolated member. Okay, maybe a little bit, depending on whether my niece's extroversion or my brother-in-law's thinking process. But really, there's no person that's so different that they're so far away that they're really isolated. Interestingly, the leadership and the collective consciousness is the same, ISFJ straight through. Okay, and it's that situation now. Now, what makes it interesting is that, okay, this family is an ISFJ led, ISFJ consciousness family that now has a totally disruptive element in this whole thing, which is me. Okay, I'm not in line with any of this at all at any point. I mean, I never have, but I'm not going to be now because that's the way the cookie crumbles at this moment. But I'm the disruptive element that's sort of needs to be honed in or whatever, and Noah's not. Noah's much less a disruptive element than I am. So whatever disruption that's going to go on for the next couple of days, I'm going to totally be the source of it, whether I realize it or not, and regardless of me following the SJ norms, because believe me, I know all about SJ norms. It's not like I'm confused either. I mean, 40 years of being in the SJ Army, I mean, very clear as to what the expectations are and what's the right way, the wrong way. But so in spite of any effort on my part, there's still going to be this disruption that I am causing in the family that didn't previously exist prior to, like this morning didn't exist, you know. And even though there's two of us, me and Noah's not the one causing that disruption. I am in the totality, as I did in my childhood. I mean, I was always the element that was like the weird element that nobody understood, nobody got, nobody, always outside of the whole system, and I felt it too. I was an alien the whole time. So, there's no confusion there going on. The real difference, if I can compare my family from the past now into the present, the main difference I think is that in my childhood it was led by an ISTJ and the consciousness was an ESFJ. Okay? And what makes that important is that my mother was an ESFJ, and so the family was an ESFJ. So the family was running all the ways that she thought. It was really centered around her. She was in the center of it in terms of her consciousness. So even though there was a lot of introverts in the family, it was not an introverted family at all. Okay, it was an extroverted. I grew up in a loud family. Okay, extroverted family, and we went out and people were over. Even though there was a lot of introverts going on, and that probably made them crazy. That wasn't the main family. The values were ESFJ, and my mother, truthfully, did have the least problem with whatever was going on because, her personal thought process and the overall norms of the family were identical. So she was fine with it. I was less fine with it as an NF, as you could imagine, but she wasn't. The interesting though, there was a switch that the ISTJ was my aunt was leading the whole thing, and even though there wasn't really conflict in a way because they're both SJs and they kind of complement each other, and they were sisters and they'd spent a lifetime together, there is a little bit of conflict because my aunt was an introvert, not interested in being this loud sort of, party like not party like drunk, but just we always had people over the house and things, and holidays there was always people coming over. That was a lot harder for her, and being a logical person, a thinker, trying to lead an emotional family, a feeling family, took its toll on her. Even though she, was very sort of clear and balanced, and the family was much more balanced with her than without her. Still, it was probably some stress going on there, between the two. So again, the main situation is I went from ESFJ for me. I went from an ESFJ family, but into an ISFJ family, but not necessarily. Obviously with SJ, it didn't change at all for me. And the last thing I think I want to talk about, because we're almost done here with a minute, is that, Noah and I were talking about, in the car, talking about just him and I and our family, and there is no collective consciousness, because we literally have the opposite, um, type. So there's no collective consciousness, there's no majority, there's no one isolated out. Really, it just has an ENFP leadership, and that's only because, I'm the father. But there's no other, like, thing that goes on, collectively between us. It's a miracle we function at all, I guess. Or I don't know, maybe that makes it less conflictual because there's no sort of major consciousness that anyone's bound to. Noah's not bound to NF consciousness, and I'm not bound to SJ consciousness, even though we live together. And maybe that means something. But it's kind of comical that all the things I grew up with are not anything that goes on between me and him alone by ourselves. So, all right, so that's the video. And I would encourage people on the forum to make their own about family. And again, you don't have to discuss it the way I just did, analytically through Myers-Briggs. You can discuss it any way you want, or be creative and be fun. And I would encourage you to put videos up. So please do, if we can, put some up. All right, thanks.